that my heart is with Christian Thomas's family, and I want to assure them, and I want to assure the people of Cleveland Heights that we are doing everything that we can to be as open and transparent and cooperative with the state investigation that is currently underway. I did want to clear a couple things up, and one of those things is the level of cooperation that we are providing to the Bureau of Criminal Investigation. And I want to let people know with absolute certainty that all of the information that we had and the data that we had relevant to this incident was turned over to BCI. All footage, all of our evidence was turned over to BCI. I believe we also provided or are providing BCI with the audit logs for that footage so that they can trace exactly who had access to it and anything that was done. We want to make sure that this is a completely above board process. I believe the process of providing information to BCI began the night of the incident. I think that there may have been some video transmitted to BCI early morning, August 30th. And then that was the beginning of our process to transmit this body cam footage to BCI. Took place that day and the next, which then continued to September 3rd. There were some, this may be where some of the confusion arose, but there was some issue with their system in downloading some of the video that we uploaded, and BCI needed to come in person to retrieve a thumb drive because of the size of the files. And that was done on September 6th. So I want to make sure everybody knows that Cleveland Heights takes this extremely seriously. We know the gravity of this situation, and we are striving to be a model, both in this region and nationwide, for how we respond to these types of incidents. And our response is to be open and transparent, obviously, with the state law enforcement officials that are conducting this investigation, but also with the people of Cleveland Heights. And that's why our first inclination was to talk directly to the people, obviously, with the help of these press outlets here. There are certain things right now that we don't know here at the City of Cleveland Heights, and that is because of our dedication to taking this out of our own hands and determining not to investigate this ourselves. Clearly, this is not a job for us to investigate, and turning this over to BCI to investigate. But the result of that is that there are some questions that we can't answer. And I know that again, is no comfort. I wish that we were at a point where we could speak confidently about the truth of the situation already. And we are not. We're not there yet. I would like for Christian's family to have answers. I want those same answers. And we need to go through this process in order to find those answers. And I guess with that, I'd like to open it up if anybody has any questions.
From the body camera that was released this morning, what were your thoughts?
Again, and I said this in the last conference that we did. I think that it's dangerous for me to have a real conclusion about what occurred from what I was able to see on that body camera footage. I know that the footage that I was there on scene after. I showed up afterward, and I saw what happened after, and clearly I wasn't there before and I wasn't there during. I don't know that I can make a confident declaration of what my thoughts might be based on that particular body cam footage. And I'm sorry that I cannot do that.
And a follow-up to that then, that's been their frustration why the press conference was held today. They want all of the body camera released.
Yeah.
Is that what you're asking for as well? And when might that become?
This is what I'm hoping for too. And so, you know, the body camera footage that we supplied to BCI is unredacted, untouched. The body cameras that we would supply publicly needs to go through a process through our law department to be redacted, to remove the, you know, a variety of things, including the images and identities of minors that might be caught in any of that body cam footage. And so those multiple and many gigs of data need to be taken through the law department. And this is something that they are undergoing now. We released you know, some to the family last week. And you know, I think that that's going to be how we pursue this, is that we'll provide the family with the footage that we can release initially, and then we'll provide it to everybody else who's requested it. And I believe they're diligently going through the process of redacting and checking and making sure that we're not releasing something that we are legally obligated to protect. We don't want to do this in a way that leaves us you know, in a place where we've done something wrong with the footage. And that's our primary concern. But our concern, and as I said before, our primary concern is being as open and transparent as we can about this, and providing no unnecessary delays. And I want to make sure everybody knows that any delay in releasing any of this footage, this is why we're doing it sort of in a rolling way. We're trying to get through each of the files and redact them, and then provide them in a running basis, so that we can provide things in an ongoing way and not delay.
Mayor.
But actually, I do want to get to just one last point. I recognize the urgency, and I don't think that the family is being impatient. That's not a word that can describe this. And so I wanna let them know as well that I appreciate them coming here today. And because they can't know how we're working, they can't know how we feel about this. And so it is completely appropriate for them to come here, hold our feet to the fire, and make sure we're doing things the right way. We will be releasing more of that footage, I believe. I've been assured, you know, this week. And so I'm you know, obviously my desire is to provide that to the family first, and then provide it to all others who've requested it. But I want them to know that I don't in any way believe that it's wrong for them. I think it's absolutely appropriate for them to come and make sure that we're doing what we need to be doing. And I want to let them know that I believe we need to be releasing this as well, and I'm pushing for that too.
Mayor, was a crisis intervention team an option in this case, and was one called to negotiate?
So as many of you may already know, we just recently put in place a first call program. It's a co-responder model that we have expanded from the model in Shaker Heights, and we have mental health professionals who can work with police in order to attempt a different way of resolving certain calls that come in, whether it's substance use calls or mental health crises. And I don't want to get ahead of people who are actually doing this investigation, and I know that I don't have the expertise, you know, in this role as mayor to determine after the fact, you know, whether some other mechanism should have been done on the ground. But I will say this: my hope and my goal for our first call program is to build up the trust of the community over time, and create opportunities for having advanced communication and connection with residents in our city who may be undergoing mental health crises or may have substance use problems, and create those connections ahead of a situation like this so that we can avoid well in advance situations like this as they occur. Now, I don't know that in this particular circumstance, I don't know that that would have been of assistance in this particular set of circumstances. But I'd like to think for future situations, we will have a system in place that can help avoid it altogether.
Do you know if one was actually called?
My understanding, and this is, very limited understanding, again, I am not sort of participating in directly the investigation that BCI is doing. And so there are things that I don't want to get ahead of that investigation and make that investigation more difficult. I know that officers arrived on the scene, and one of the things that they were expecting to do and preparing for was bringing in a negotiator to see if they could resolve this in a different way, and the circumstances of the situation changed. I don't know if there were any more questions. Yeah.
Just one more question about the body camera video, and what officers may have reported back to their superiors. Did they actually see a gun in his hand?
That I'm not aware of. I don't have that information. Okay. I think just as a sort of a final statement here, I do want to say again to the family and to the people of Cleveland Heights that this was a tragedy, and we recognize the gravity of this situation, and we are doing everything that we can to be cooperative with this investigation. And everything that we're doing with regard to releasing information, we're trying to do in the most lawful, open way that we can. I know that providing answers yesterday is better than providing answers today. We're not going to have all of the answers here, and we're waiting for some of the same answers as everybody else is. And so I want to let people know that nothing that we're doing here is intended to obfuscate or obscure the truth. That's something that I am very confident about. Again, I mentioned that I showed up on scene shortly after the incident, and what I saw was a situation where officers were closing off and protecting the scene and all the evidence in anticipation of BCI showing up and taking over that investigation. And I want to let everybody know that that was the officer's intention. That was the officer's that was the result of the officer's direction in responding to what had just happened that evening. I know that as time goes on, there will be people who will make assumptions about the intention of the city and the officers. And I don't know that there's a lot that we can do to stop that. But I do at least want to go on record with all of you and with all of the people here in the city that our intention is to release this information as quickly as we can on a rolling basis. And our expectation is that Cleveland Heights and all of our employees here will participate and cooperate in the investigation as it continues. I don't know if you've just joined us. We've sort of gone through a little bit here, but if you have any questions that you'd like to ask, you can feel free to do so.
Yeah, Mayor, can you just start with kind of what you're here to talk about right now?
Well, we've sort of begun already, but I'll provide a little bit of a recap. And I just the first thing, and I think your viewers should know, the first thing on our minds and the most important thing is Christian Thomas's family and our sensitivity to what they're going through right now. And I can't pretend that I could put myself in their shoes. I wouldn't presume, but I want them to know, and I've seen, you know, outpouring from the community already. We are a community that cares about them, and that we care about Christian, and we know that he mattered, and we know that his life mattered, and it's important for us to get this right. I wanted to let people know that you know, some of the confusion about whether or not evidence had been provided to BCI was misplaced. We did indeed provide, starting as early as I believe the evening of the incident, started to provide BCI with footage. We continued through the 3rd, and then you know, eventually, due to some technical difficulties with the system for downloading the footage that we uploaded, BCI had to come physically and pick up a physical thumb drive with the footage on it because of the size of the files. And that took place on the 6th of September. We are also providing BCI with the audit logs for that footage so that they can see exactly who accessed it, how it was accessed. Because we want to make sure that this investigation is completely above board. We want to make sure that whatever the results of the investigation are, that we can trust them, and that the people of Cleveland Heights can trust them. And so that is our goal right now. Our primary goal is to make sure that our participation in and cooperation with BCI in this investigation is without concern. Yeah.
And then 2 follow-up questions. Does BCI have all of the body cam footage, and when will the family be able to see all the body cam footage?
BCI has all of the body camera footage. Again, as I stated, we attempted to upload beginning, I believe, the night of the incident, began to tried again, I believe, on September the 3rd, and there were some issues with their system handling that much data. Ultimately, BCI came and retrieved physically all of the body camera footage from CHPD. And we've released, and we will continue this process of releasing on a rolling basis as we process, you know, as per our legal requirements, process the body camera footage and remove those things, redact those things related to the images, identities of minors, and those sorts of things that need to be redacted for public provision of that footage. We will be releasing to the family first, as we did with the footage that we released to the press. We released it to the family first on Saturday. I'm sorry, on Friday, and then to the press, and we'll be doing that in an ongoing way as the footage is redacted according to our legal requirements. We'll be providing them to the family, and then after that we'll be providing it to everyone who has requested it.
So what do you make of the family and the family's attorney saying that they can't get to full truth or justice until they've seen all the footage?
Well, my goal is to get them all of the footage. That is my goal. My goal is to get them all of the footage, and we will do that. You know, our goal is exactly what theirs is, to get to the truth. and providing them with that footage is extremely important to me personally. So, you know, I'm pushing to get that job done, and it is it requires a diligent, you know, approach. You have to work through each of those files and ensure that you are doing it the right way, so that we're not releasing something that we are not, you know, legally allowed to release. And so I want to get the family that footage too, and we will. And then we'll be providing it to everybody else who's requested it. But again, I want to make this very, very clear. We provided every single bit of footage to the Bureau of Criminal Investigation, unredacted, untouched, and provided them with the audit logs so that they can guarantee that.
Is there any update on the employment status of the 3 officers that fired during the incident?
My last understanding is that they were on administrative leave pending this investigation.
That's all for me. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
First you said you guys sent in the videos to BCI on the 30th, then you said the 29th. Is there a specific?
So my understanding, and obviously I'm not the one sending the video, so I'm relaying this, but my understanding is that some footage was sent that evening. You know, I believe on the 30th, I believe on the early morning in the 30th. But that wasn't the complete set of footage. They attempted to send footage through a particular system that they would send it electronically, and the size of the files wouldn't allow. There was some sort of error that they encountered in the process of providing that footage, and I believe ultimately they attempted to do it the last point on the 3rd of September, after trying to resolve whatever the errors were. Ultimately, BCI had to come and physically retrieve those files on a physical thumb drive because the size of the files was causing some difficulty with their system, and they were not able to download what we uploaded.
In the body cam video, the officer was like, he kept saying he had to go get his rifle. Did he have a department issue gun on him and he went to get a rifle, or what was, do you know the?
I don't know the answer to that specific question. I'm sorry about that.
Could you quickly pronounce your name for me? So I
Sure.
can do the right-
The first name is pronounced Khalil, and the last name is Sarin.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay. Thank you all for coming, and I would like to get to the truth as quickly as we possibly can. Thank you.
Thank you.